Here we are. Wasn't that bad today. Um, welcome to Taco Tuesdays, everybody. This is where we regularly discuss mindset, fitness, good food, and everything on the outsides of that, on the insides of that. And a big part of it is taking the success of your being, your body, mind, and spirit, and your heart. Getting a little feedback from somebody.
Feedback.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm Nick.
I'm Rebecca.
I'm Brandon. In case you guys haven't met us already in the group, our goal with these talks is to provide a high value info, and my big thing is giving you guys some actions that you can take. So those usually come at the end. So stick around for that. That if you are here with us, give us, if you're here live or if you're listening or watching later, give us a like, let us know that you're listening, and give us a quick thumbs up, because today we're talking about snacking and what really happens, how in our body when we're snacking, how it can affect you, for better or for worse. Is it better? Is it worse? Nick, I know you have some thoughts on that.
Yeah. So first things first, like, you got to know, I love to snack. And honestly, like, I typically eat 2 or 3 snacks a day. And honestly, I do believe that they're a really great way to, it's a part of my health, right? And it's a really great way to calm down my hunger and add nutrients into my diet. But here's the deal. And I don't know if Brendan's going to argue a little bit, but he's going to probably come back with a little bit of maybe some counter ideas about this in just a little bit. But I know the part that Brandon will 100% agree with is that there are so many factors at play when it comes to our diet and when it comes to specifically snacking. So first of which, like, I'm a very different person than you, and my goals are very different. And that, I believe, is really key to note, because most of the things that are out there about, snacking is, sure, they may hold some truth, but they can also be incredibly damaging to what you're trying to achieve in your life, especially when it comes to things like male to female ratios, age, but even beyond all of that, it's hormonal changes can be huge. And it's important to know that what your facts are, and to get somebody who is serious and knows the ins and outs of the human body and all of its types and all of its variants. And so one question, like, I personally get a lot, is how to stop mindlessly snacking. And which is basically another way of putting that is, how do I start eating more thoughtfully? How do I start eating with a little bit more intent, right? And the whole reason that this habit is part of our program is because it's something that we've struggled with, and a lot of our clients struggle with, and in different ways entirely. And it's something that affects us all from time to time. And some, honestly, it's much more than others. But once we begin being more intentional with our foods, big changes can really happen. And this is proof not only in our lives, but in our clients as well. And I'd love to give shout outs, honestly, but I've forgot to ask for permission ahead of time, so I'm not going to do that. But Brandon, have at it.
Okay. Yeah. Well, we know, like, for years, the conventional advice has, usually from people who haven't really bothered to look at the science, and that's my thing, has encouraged snacking, right? And Nick, I bet without even thinking, I bet you can name the big 3 myths about snacking right now. I bet
Okay.
you can. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So there are definitely some ideas out there that aren't necessarily wrong, right? But they likely aren't right for you, and they're definitely not right for everybody. So when it comes to snacking, I know a lot of those ideas are, one, like, you got to do it because it keeps your metabolism revved up, right?
Perfect.
I think I said another one earlier where it can controls hunger. Okay, that's a fairly decent idea, right? Another one is blood sugar. I know blood sugar is a common one for a lot of people, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's right for a lot of people.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, if you want to look into the science and the studies behind that, yeah, not true. That stuff. So the metabolic difference when we started to study this, between eating frequently, like eating 6 small meals a day, or snacking between major meals, and eating larger meals, is a wash. There's really no difference. So eating more frequently definitely does not ramp up your metabolism. Some people, you'll hear it all the time, like that's how you rev your metabolism or fire up your metabolism. Does not work like that. There's a tiny little negligible difference. So again, I think the controlling hunger thing is much more subjective. Like you said, Nick, like for you, you feel like it helps. If you feel like it helps, I mean, that's real. That's an emotional, psychological difference. That, to me, that counts. That matters. But in terms of scientific evidence of that, there isn't any. But again, if it's real for you, it's real for you, right? And I
Right.
think,
Well, that comes back to the difference of, I think, what we were talking about, like the difference of goals. Like my goals is going to be completely different from Rebecca's goals, big time. And
totally
the way my hormones work is going to be very different from Rebecca's, right?
right.
But I think there are some general science that you're probably getting to that it does work for everybody, right?
Mm. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, again, for me, like your goals and my goals are different as well. For me, the repetitive behavior of frequent eating becomes a difficult cycle for me to break myself. The mental, emotional expectation of food every couple of hours, that's tough for me to
Mm.
break. And so, um, so for people who are, looking for that, being able to control that, that might work against them. Right. But again, your goals are different. Um, what was the other one? Oh, blood sugar. Unless
Yeah.
you're a diabetic, your body is really designed to retain normal regulated blood sugar levels during extremely long periods without food, through God, what is it called? It's called gluconeogenesis. Oh man, pulled that out. Scary word. But yeah, trust me, the blood sugar thing. I get angry when I get hungry. I feel faint. I can feel my blood sugar getting low. It's not how it works, guys. Sorry, that's in your head unless you're a diabetic. But I do want to know, out there, what's the consensus? To snack or not to snack. All right, what are the thoughts there?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So if you're out there, you're listening, like, let us know. Let us know if there's something that you enjoy, if it's something that you think you need, if it's something you think you need to stop doing, if it's something you need to take action on. Let us know right here in the comments. Um, I would like to jump into a little bit of the mindset stuff. If you guys are both good with it, okay. Um, Basically, it can become mindless, right? That's when we run into the biggest problems, I believe. And you're probably going to get to it. I know you are, but um, it's basically why it becomes a mindless behavior. And it happens when someone has gotten into such a habit of eating snacks at certain times. It literally becomes mindless, and there's a trigger that happens, and it, like, avoidance is a big part of it. Like, oh, I don't want to do this. You know what I'm gonna do instead? I'm gonna eat. I'm gonna go to the vending machine. I'm gonna go, doesn't matter, I'm gonna go do something that is probably not as beneficial for me, instead of being tuned into the body's natural hunger cues. And this can happen when our brain begins to associate food with the environment, or maybe, like I said, a trigger or a specific time. And then we just begin to act out of habit. Actually, I'm a perfect example of this, because my girlfriend will tell you that when I will look into the refrigerator every time we come home from a restaurant. Like, it is habitual. Um, And I used to be a lot worse. I did. But she still like tells me like I do it every time. But and it was purely habitual, triggered because I simply would walk through the front door.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. And the problem that it was happening is beginning to happen every time I walk through the front door, right? So does anybody else, I'm curious, I know we just asked a question, but this one I think is big for a lot of people to relate to. Does anybody else have a trigger that was just like what I just said, like walking through the front door? Maybe it's sitting on the couch. Maybe it's like as small as turning on a light switch. Or sometimes, it's at work when you walk by the vending machine, or you really have to do this thing, but man, I don't really want to do this thing, so I'm gonna go to the vending machine instead. That'll give me a nice little break, and I'll have a nice little snack, and then I'll feel like doing it. But it's probably not the case.
Yeah.
Or you know what? What about like free stuff? Like when you go to a meeting or any sort of
right
thing. We've all been to those things for whatever reason. But there's veggie trays and there's fruit, and then there's a tray of donuts, right? And what happens then and there? We go mindlessly. It's completely mindless. Go to the donuts. And then later we're like, crap, what did I eat that for?
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm curious. What's your trigger? What is your trigger?
Deadly. Yeah, we have those triggers. Definitely. When I was working in, at the VA, and, that office culture is just, anytime, that's like the running joke. Hey, is there free food anywhere? Like that was always like around like 11:30. We're all, sending messages to each other. Hey, is there free food happening anywhere on campus? And so, but that's it. Those triggers, turning on the TV, I know is one. Like I was just talking to somebody, sit down to watch a movie, right?
Mm-hmm.
Snack time. Totally. Football, snack time, right? All those things. So yeah, I mean, I'll be the first one to say that becoming more intentional around eating, especially snacking, is tough. It does. It requires that, that forethought. It requires you recognizing what's going on in your head before, we're not designed that way. We're designed to just take action, especially when it comes to food. That's why it's such a, that's why we're here, right? A big part of why we're here. But there's good news, of course. We've got some practical things that you can do to, that we'll share with you to get you moving in the right direction. So you can move the needle, as we like to say, make a big difference. Mm-hmm. And we will get to those in a moment.
Yeah, I need to interject though for a second, because both of you are making it seem like it's really easy to stop snacking. Let's just get some info and we'll stop snacking. And I just want to let everyone know this is really, really hard. And it was hard for me. And if you don't master the art of curbing snacking immediately, that's okay. It takes time to change your habits. And it really took me a long time to get rid of snacking from my diet.
Yeah, it's a tough thing.
Mm-hmm.
It really is. And thanks for saying that, because it really is important. That's like, these things are tough.
And I think what you said in there was key. Like it's okay if you're not perfect, like snap your fingers and you're just there.
Right.
Like it doesn't happen overnight. Like just like anything else, it didn't happen overnight to get to where you are right now. So it's not going to happen to get where you want to be.
Right.
Totally.
Yeah. And I catch myself all the time. I mean, I'm like, oh, what am I doing? Here I am. I'm the same way, Nick. I walk through the kitchen when I don't need to. Like it doesn't, every time I walk through the door, even after dinner, like walk over to the refrigerator and start rummaging like a raccoon.
Yeah, I know. And Marianne always gets me, what are you doing? We just ate.
I don't know. So let's talk a little bit about what happens and kind of why this is important. We know, yes, the science. I know, bad word, science.
No, it's a great word. You gotta believe before you can take action on anything, right? You gotta believe and understand the pieces behind it.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, we had a long conversation about that, didn't we, Nick? So we know that fat gain is not simply a calorie issue. It's it's definitely part of it, but it's very much a hormone issue. And insulin is really the key player, the main player there. And there are tons of studies that show that high exposure to insulin causes fat gain. So there's really no like kind of way around that. More insulin equals more fat. So our bodies, what happens is our bodies become less sensitive to insulin. We've talked about this before a little bit. We become less sensitive to insulin the more that we're exposed to it, like alcohol, right? The insulin tolerance. So when we become insulin tolerant from that constant exposure, our body's response is to produce more and more of it for it to actually do its job. Right? This is bad, right? I just said it causes fat gain. So your body producing more of it is a big problem. So, also like alcohol, if we don't have insulin in our bloodstream all the time, then we'll be more sensitive to it. And our bodies won't need to produce these unusual amounts of it for it to do its job. We'll be insulin sensitive. We really want to be like an insulin lightweight. That's what I say all the time.
It's a really good analogy, man, between the alcohol and
Yeah,
I think that's great. Everybody should be able to relate to that to some degree.
I think so. Right. So whenever we eat, we produce insulin. And in order to be insulin sensitive, it's really, really important to have those periods of time where our body is not releasing insulin into the bloodstream. So snacking keeps that from happening, right? Keeps insulin in the bloodstream all the time. And it takes away those periods without insulin, and that makes us less sensitive to it. And so our body produces more, and that causes our body to produce more insulin, which causes us to gain fat. So I hope that makes sense. I tried not to be like crazy sciencey with it, all right? But if you're watching, especially, hit it, give us a thumbs up, or ask a question if it doesn't make sense. That's okay too. But yeah, we say it all the time, right? We can't help if we don't know. So ask the question. We'd love to help.
Yeah, and in a very non-scientific way, for those that don't understand half the things that Brandon said, in my experience, when I go to grab something to eat, also, it tends to be like a poor food choice. So the easiest snacks that you tend to grab whenever, they tend to be full of processed carbohydrates and sugars, and it's really easy to lose track of how much of those we're eating. So, one snack ends up being 100 calories, and that's a lot to throw into your diet in a week, every month. And if you remember, again, that those are mostly processed foods, so pretty much empty calories, it's easy for all of that to get away with you without even noticing. And then little by little, all of a sudden, you're gaining a little bit of weight here and there, and you don't know where it's coming from.
Don't even know why.
Totally.
Yeah. That's good. That's definitely a better relatable material. Maybe, I'm not sure if that's the right words I was looking for, but yeah, that definitely sneaks up on us. It's definitely a part of it.
That's a great point.
So I don't know what else we've got to do. Action time.
Action time. Yeah,
okay.
action time.
I guess I'm going to kick it off then. So the first one I think is really important to do based on what you were saying, Brandon, I think is timing your meals, right? Plan your meals out for the day. Know what you're going to eat and when. And it's important. And people say, oh, it's too hard to plan. Like, it's not too hard to plan. And if it really is too hard to plan, we have meal plan recipe packs. It's meal plans and recipe packs and grocery lists and everything else that you would need, right? If you need that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
But the problem is if you skip a meal, you're going to get hungry and maybe even hangry. And that will increase your chances of doing that mindless snacking, that just automated, instinctual, put something in my face. Probably not going to be good for me. I mean, have you ever been to a grocery store and you're hungry? Yeah, everybody.
Bad idea.
Problems.
You buy stuff that's not on the list, and they're usually not the best choices. So that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But when your brain knows that there's a plan, and this is specific science stuff, I always say when you have an intent, you are much more likely to act on that intent. But when you don't have a plan, it's hard to be mindful.
Totally.
Absolutely. And if you can't stop snacking, try putting a few tricks in place to stop yourself from eating unhealthy stuff. Like we've all had those days. I certainly had one of those days last week where I just felt like a bottomless pit and I just wanted to keep eating and eating and eating all day. So here's a couple things that you can do. First, make sure that your snack is satisfying. Are you going to be satisfied when you're done eating it? Meaning, make sure it has a good mix of protein, healthy fats, and veggies. That's the perfect combo. Last night after dinner, I found myself scrounging for food and I had a handful of walnuts and a couple strawberries. And it was very satisfying and I was done. So that's a good tip. And then also make sure that you stay hydrated because when you're drinking something or sipping throughout the day, you think you might be hungry, but you really just need to stay hydrated. So if you're staying hydrated and drinking lots of water, your body probably just needs some of that and you'll be just fine. Another one that everybody should be doing anyway is brushing your teeth. I hope we don't need to do hygiene checks on everybody, but trust me, if you have some leftover food and those flavors that are in your mouth that you keep tasting, you're going to want to crave them over and over again. So after dinner, go brush your teeth. And it may also cue your brain that it's the end of the day if you brush your teeth. And then this is hard, and this is what I had to figure out, is breaking the trigger. It's going to be different for absolutely every single person, but there's an activity out there that can change your mindset. It'll distract you or prevent you from going into the kitchen. And when you find that and you have your reason to not go looking for a snack, it will be a lot easier. I speak from personal experience having to find my activity to distract myself.
There's a good reason that we brought you on.
Totally. No, those are fantastic tips. Awesome. Yeah, that. Oh man, the teeth brushing. That's been a standby for a long time. Like as soon as I'm done eating dinner, I go and brush my teeth. It just kind of gets me in that like. One, I just don't want to brush my teeth again.
Yeah.
And two, though, yeah, psychologically, it just kind of puts me in that like, okay, like I'm done for the night.
Exactly.
So another thing I think is just controlling your environment sometimes. So, if you're surrounded by temptation all the time, it's gonna be hard. Like you can't just like,
Yeah.
we
It's gonna
say
beat your willpower to pieces.
yes, it is. Exactly. Thank you, Nick. That's exactly it. And we say if you hang out at a bar, you're gonna get drunk, right? But you might. I say all the time that a good diet starts at the grocery store, and it really does. Like if you can't resist cookies, why the hell are they in your house?
That's such a good point, man.
Come on. So sometimes we have to be real with ourselves. That's me. If there's ice cream in my freezer, I'm eating that shit. And it's not, and I know that. So, I buy my 1 pint a week and we plow through that.
Really good example here today. I'm the same way though, man. Like we've talked about it several times. PB&Js. I purposely don't buy bread because I can't help myself. I always have peanut butter on hand because I use it for 100 different things. And either jelly, which I also purposely don't buy, or honey, which I always have honey on hand because of my allergies. But if I have the bread, that is the recipe for disaster. So I purposely don't buy bread.
Yeah. I don't know if I ever told you guys, but there is a secret hiding place in my house somewhere that anytime my husband buys something with sugar, like cookies or something like that, he has a secret hiding place that I don't know about. And he has to immediately put it there. So I don't know it's here because I can't resist.
That's awesome.
That is really funny.
Marianne's been known to hide stuff like behind other stuff in the freezer because she knows I'll just destroy it.
Oh, yeah. Let me do that with my kids. Like hide the ice cream under the vegetables.
Sometimes I gotta hide it from myself, and then I find it like a month later. I'm like, oh yeah,
yes. And then then it's a celebration. You're just going for it anyway. Like it doesn't.
Yeah.
You ate like a cake 15 minutes earlier.
Right.
Like, ice cream because I'm celebrating finding it. Yeah. So, but yeah, you talked about triggers earlier, you've got to remove those things sometimes. Like if you know there's something that, in your environment or in your daily life that sets that up. I've got a good, good friend in recovery who's like, yeah, I leave work and the liquor store is on the way home, and it's, and I know the other guys from work are going to be there, like kind of hanging out and whatever. And it's sort of this like social thing and really reinforcing. Like, I know that that's, a big trigger for me. And, and it's so funny because you're having this conversation with this person. They're like, I don't know how to deal with that. Like, is that the only way for you to get home? Move the trigger. Turn right.
True, man. It's just, but the hard part about that is like it's the most convenient way home as well. So like, why would I go the long way? It doesn't make sense. Like, just be strong. Oh, wait a minute, I can't be strong. Turn in.
Yeah.
That's
Or get on
that freezer aisle for you, man.
Yeah, exactly. But I say that, dial a friend, call me on the way home. Call me before you get there, and I'll talk to you until you're past the liquor store. Sometimes we need help with these things. And that's the other thing. That's my other tip is, bring that support, lean on somebody else, ask for some help. So I hope those also make sense.
I think that's really big, man. Actually, I think that brings up another really big one is, and this might be most important, even more so than breaking those triggers, is because a trigger it triggers your behavior. But even more so than addressing those triggers and avoiding those triggers, you have to combat the underlying cause, right? Because often any habit, but when we're talking about snacking specifically, it's because of a certain emotion or a stressful situation, or maybe you're bored, or maybe you're lonely, maybe you're under like I said, heavy stress at work, whatever the case may be. Sometimes you have to combat that underlying cause. You have to realize and take a minute to reflect, what am I really trying to get by doing this? And then I know you're really big on this, Brandon. What are the consequences going to be?
Yeah.
Play the tape forward. Yeah. Play the tape forward. What's going to happen? This is going to make me feel good while I'm doing it. And then I'm going to have consequences within the hour, probably, or the next day, the guilt. That's a fantastic point, though. That's huge. I think that's just so important, is those underlying causes, right? Hunger or mindless eating. And you can argue, obesity itself is a symptom.
Yeah.
Right. It's a symptom of a deeper pathology.
Definitely.
We got to dig into those things. And that, that's deep stuff. I know it's hard. Like, what do you mean? I just want to stop eating, bonbons in my spare time. What does this have to do with childhood trauma or something like that? But, that's the stuff that we do need to dig into sometimes. Maybe not necessarily that specifically, but there's always something else going on, some emotional factor going on.
Definitely.
So but those triggers, again, how many? I'll ask the question out there. Like, what are some of your triggers out there, guys? We have Ina. Is that? I hope I'm not mispronouncing your name. Hi, thanks for being with us. But like, what are those triggers? Like, maybe it's a heated email, or a phone call, or a tough conversation. Those that might be a little bit bigger. But like I said, driving home, I hit the bakery on my way home. It's just my habit. It's just what I do every day. I stop at 7-Eleven and get a Slurpee or something. Stress, fantastic. That's exactly it. There you go. Stress is a huge one, right? We want relief from that, right? We want relief from that. That's a great, thank you for that. That's huge. But sometimes it's things that we really don't really see in the moment, right? Tiredness, fatigue, being sleepy.
Tired and sleepy. Yeah,
Lisa.
Definitely. That's something that I struggle with. I get kind of tired and sleepy, and I'm like, I also have a problem with going to bed early. I don't know why, but instead of doing that, I go into the refrigerator. Like, I can't help it.
I'm tired.
Bed, or I can eat something else. Let's go eat.
It is such a bad habit. I swear to God.
I need sleep. Let's fix this with food.
Exactly.
That's what we do. It's the most accessible answer to our problems a lot of the time, right? Like, it's just the easiest thing to do. And that is really, really tough. So yeah, thank you guys for those responses, like beelining to the kitchen for, a treat, or to maybe it's to put something else off, right?
Avoidance is a big one.
Avoidance.
Yeah, but it is a really big step when you can recognize that your emotions are what's fueling your eating habits. Because if you know what that is and you recognize that, you can find another outlet for those emotions.
Mhm.
This one is tough, especially if you're a big emotional eater. And, it's going to be a lot of practice. And I didn't think I was an emotional eater because I would go through these phases of, I had a period in my life where I was really depressed and really sad, and I barely ate anything, and I got really skinny, and everybody complimented me, and I was like, this is great. But then there were other points in my life where when I would get depressed, I would just eat everything I could find. And it took a long time to realize that I had an unhealthy emotional relationship with food, that it was there for me when I was happy and I wanted to celebrate. And when I was sad, it was there for me in different ways. And, figuring out how to deal with that and deal with your emotions and control those and not control it with food is huge when it comes to snacking.
Big
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's a great point. Because that is it. I mean, that's the umbrella over the whole thing for the most part, right? Is what is food doing for us? What is that relationship? And digging into that can be a complex thing. Sometimes it's just a matter of going, oh, yeah, I'm using food to regulate my emotions. I got to stop doing that every time I'm upset.
Yeah.
Every time I'm, something bothers me, every time I'm tired, every time I'm blah, blah, blah. I'm using food for all those things. Yeah. It's like, it's not just one thing. That's really a good insight, Rebecca, because that
definitely.
is it. It's not just like this one trigger. It's all these triggers, right? It's all the things. We use it to answer all of it.
All the things.
All the things, exactly. So we should probably wrap up. We've been, jabbering for a while. I hope you guys can relate to that. Please just drop a thumbs up, if some of this made sense. I hope the science made sense. If you have any questions about that, please really do reach out and ask me about that. But and if you did that, if we had some good responses here, we'll probably say hi and answer those and have a conversation. We like that. So
I honestly love being able to say, oh, so and so said this. I think that's really cool. So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And you should tell us what your struggle is, because I'm here now and I'm not a big scary dude like these two guys. So I want to help you too.
So
And
scary.
I want everybody to see that if I can do it, you can do it. And just remember that it's one baby step at a time.
Yeah, totally. We've watched Rebecca go through a pretty transformation. Yeah. I don't use the word transformation lightly either. I don't even like to say that, but
I love that word. You're crazy. You can have so many different transformations, even on a day-to-day basis. It's huge. Anyways.
Absolutely.
Oh, it's true. It's a sensational word. I'll embrace it. I'll embrace that.
Okay.
All right. So come back for next week's live. We're going to talk about, what are we talking about next week?
I don't remember what we decided on, to be honest, but it's going to be good.
It's going to be good.
We're going to talk about breakfast.
Oh, yes.
Yes. Breakfast.
Breakfast.
That's right.
All right. Okay. So I would love, in the meantime, I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on that. We'll probably do a little post in the group asking what you guys think about breakfast. Eating first thing in the morning, is that your jam? We'll get into that. So stick around for that. Did you say jam? Jam. In the meantime, you guys keep doing what you do in the group. We love seeing you guys lifting each other up. That's what it's all about in here. And so please, like Rebecca, like you said, ask those questions, post those problems, those concerns, or those triumphs, those successes. Post those as well, because those are inspiring also. But really, if you do have questions, please, guys, ask those things, because that's what it's about. You have access to 3 people who genuinely care here.
And I've probably said this before, and I'll probably say it again. The more you put into this community, the more you get back out.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And it's just like anything else. Just like anything else, the more energy and time and thought and question and whatever you can put into something, the more you're going to get back out of it. So use us, use the community, use your peers. Goodbye.
Bye, guys. We'll see you soon.
Everybody.